And like you said, just acknowledging the spaces that we've been in where we may have needed to pull away. And I just feel like that comes with a level of maturity. That's teenage stuff to me, where you're feeling like, why you ain't call me? Why didn't, but also, even when we've stepped away, like you said, we've always made sure the other person knew I'm here.
Welcome back to another episode. Man, I have to tell you, backstage it was wild. Before I even introduce this sister right here, I have to say, this is, let me see. Okay, I'll make sure I'm pointing in the right direction here. My biz bestie, y'all, Dr. Nicole Rochester. Now, I'm gonna say a little bit more about this in a second, but what I want to share is that this is a conversation that has been brewing for at least a year, because we have built this relationship, this deep trust, this deep, safe relationship. And we're going to talk about how that came to be for us in service of, for those of y'all, oftentimes when I'm coaching my clients and when I'm training, I often talk about find safe people in your life, find people who you can trust. And sometimes that's a little vague because people are like, how do you do that? And even in the conversations that we've had, it's been difficult for us to articulate it. So we just decided to come on and talk about it. All right. So we're talking about building deep trust and how you build safe relationships and what are some of the ingredients that has. So before me, and actually, if you followed me for some years through all of my various podcasts, Next Level Physicians, the Black Mind Garden, you have seen this person before. We've even done a LinkedIn Live together. That was the Empathy Gap. I don't know if you remember that. This is Dr. Nicole Rochester. She is most definitely a light bearer and a navigation expert. And she is one of my closest and most trusted friends, both from a professional standpoint and from a personal standpoint. So I'm excited I've been trying to get Dr. Nicole back on this podcast secretly for a really long time. I just had to find a way to reel her back in, you know what I'm saying? So welcome, my sister. Oh, I almost forgot to say, she is also my soror. So welcome, Dr. Nicole. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you, Dr. Maisha. I'm telling you, I'm so excited to have this conversation. It's like we're in each other's living room. It's not a podcast. This is just, we're bringing them into our world. And just thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And really, it is like a daily existence to be able to bring that into this particular context and this platform and forum. For those people who are listening who may be new to you, please let us know who you are. Who is Dr. Nicole?
I love this question because, and Dr. Maisha knows all the nitty gritty, but it's something that I have been recreating, redefining, evolving. How I introduce myself now is very different than I introduced myself 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 2 years ago. I used to start with the typical titles, who I am to other people, what I do for other people. But interestingly, just as Dr. Maisha and I were starting this podcast, I took the headline that popped up as my business and I changed it to light bearer and navigation expert. And so that's who I am. I am a light bearer. I am still embracing that title, but I am definitely someone who brings light into a situation, brings light into a room, brings light into a relationship, brings light into the world. And that light can be my positive outlook, my optimism, my cheerleader spirit, but it also can be the light that exposes, the truth about things, about people, about situations. So I am always in search of truth and helping others find that for themselves. And then the navigation expert, really, if I think back, Dr. Maisha, all of my life, I have been a navigation expert. I just didn't know what that was or to call myself that. But in various situations, I help people navigate complicated situations. and whether it's in the healthcare setting, whether it's your personal life. Yeah. So that's who I am. I'm a mom. I would be remiss without mentioning that. I'm the mom of two amazing daughters who are grown, but always my babies. And I am a sister, and as you said, a soror, and just a grateful human.
Yes, yes. And a lover of God, chocolate,
and R&B.
In that order. I usually wait until the end to do this, but y'all got to go listen to Dr. Nicole's podcast, Your Next Chapter. Yes, I did just quote you.
I am cracking up. Thank you, sis.
Yes, yes. And shout out to my nieces.
Yes, their auntie. They love their auntie Maisha.
Yes. As we chuckle about all of these things, for those listening, it would be evident that we are close. And you may be surprised, those listening, to know that I actually have not known Dr. Nicole that long in the context of this 50-year-old life. We only met, what was it, maybe 4 or 5 years ago? Now, we've been in each other's circles we've been in each other's collegial circles for many years.
Mm-hmm. I think it was 2021.
2021. But we only really connected back during the pandemic.
Yes.
So talk to me about that. Like, for you, what was that like for you? What happened? Tell them what happened, girl. You tell us.
Yes, man. It's just, I'm going to see if I can get through this interview, this conversation, not interview, without crying. Because when I think about it, I think one of the things that Dr. Maisha and I know for sure is that our connection was divinely orchestrated. It's just no other explanation for it. But let me tell y'all how this all came to be. It's all on Dr. Maisha. One of the many things that I've done in my business and pivots and things like that, I mentioned I have two daughters. And at the time, my youngest daughter was, I believe, a junior in college. And Dr. Maisha said, we were in the middle of the pandemic. My daughter had to come home for a semester, and she was preparing to go back to school. And as a pediatrician, we didn't mention that, but I'm a pediatrician. And one of my businesses helps people navigate the healthcare system. And I had started focusing on college students and emerging college students and their parents and helping them navigate their health while they're away from home. And so now they're about to go back to school in the middle of a pandemic. And what does that look like? So I was hosting a webinar that basically was for parents and for the college students about how to stay safe when you go back to your campuses in the middle of a pandemic. And I was trying to figure out, like, what's the next step? I'm going to do this webinar. I'm going to provide all this information. But as a business owner, okay, how do I monetize this? And I posted in one of our physician Facebook groups that I wanted some ideas. And other people gave a couple of ideas. No shade to them. They gave me advice. But Dr. Maisha was like, sis, why don't we just hop on a call? And I don't remember if you gave me your email. I feel like she may have said, this is my email. Let's just chat. And next thing I know, instead of her just giving me a little bit of advice, she invited me in. And we either had a phone call or a Zoom call. And literally the rest is history. She helped me figure out how to monetize that interaction with the parents. And then initially it was just, we would check in informally and update each other on our businesses. And I'll be honest, Dr. Maisha, I don't even know when it morphed into what it is now, but it went from us checking in to us checking in more frequently around business, to us formally, like saying we're going to be biz besties, to us reading books together about business and like really getting invested in each other's businesses in terms of, this is what I think, this is what you could do, to weekly calls, to now Marco Poloing each other, I don't know, 4, 5, 8 times a day, to going on a retreat together. And literally, y'all, let me tell you, I hope I'm not jumping ahead too far, Dr. Maisha, but it's part of the story. I have never, and I never with a capital N, traveled out of the country with somebody I've never met in person. Ever. Like, there's some family members I wouldn't even travel with. But Dr. Maisha and I had cultivated this relationship, still online, on the telephone, had never met in person. And we decided that we were going to not just meet up, but meet up in a whole nother country. And we met in the Dominican Republic and spent, I think, 5 days together and had a blast. So here we are.
I remember that call very specifically. I was on the road. And I think what it was, I think I Facebook messaged you and gave you my phone number. And then we had a call. I was on the road taking my son to the state line or coming back from the state line. And basically we talked the entire way. And yes, that did lead to like us text, hey, let me get on the call with you. Let me run this by you, to, hey, I'm reading this book, the Consulting Bible, and like checking in around that. But I think we found Marco Polo first. And then we were reading, going back and forth with the reading of the book. And that just, it snowballed. And one of the things that, as I listen to you, that occurs for me is it was the invitation.
Yes.
It was the invitation. And when I think about, so you were talking about the discovering of who you are. And as you said, you've been a navigation expert for all of your life. And I always talk about the fact that I've been a healer all my life. But there's one thing that I don't often talk about, and that is a connector. And so I'll just flash back to another young sister who I still maintain connection with. She's a mommy friend. And when Delson was, I think he was like 18 months, he started to go to this daycare. I transitioned to a new daycare. And he came home talking about this young lady, Ira. Ira, I want to play with Ira. And I was like, who's this Ira? And so I asked the teacher, and the teacher showed me who she was, and I left a note for the mom. Now, Delson's 11 and Ira's 11. Their birthdays are the same month, and we still have that relationship. Wow. And the other day I was talking to her, and you know what she told me? She was like, the fact that you reached out, I am so grateful for that. And it's something that you often say to me, right?
Yes.
And she still has that note. So, yeah. I love it. One of the things I'm learning is it's that building like deep trust, it starts with what you said, inviting people in. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what it was that pushed me to say, let's have a call, other than I wanted to give you more than just typing on the computer. Yeah. And so it's that when you're just starting to build those trusting relationships, it means that you have to sometimes take the risk, mm-hmm. invite people in.
Yeah. And I love that you said it came from a place of you wanting to give, because that's exactly how I received it. I was deeply moved by the invitation to get on a call. Anything you would have offered would have been appreciated. But like I said, it stood out to me. Like, this sister she knows me, but she doesn't really know me. And then the call that we had was so rich. You were just giving and giving. And what about this? And what about this? And have you tried this? And have you thought about that? And there was no monetary exchange. It was just you giving. And I think that for some people who feel like they've had a hard time building close relationships, or maybe they've been harmed, mm-hmm. and like they don't want to reach out, this idea of just coming from the purest place of your heart, mm-hmm. and reaching out and giving there, and then the rest will just fall into place, because I feel like this has been effortless. That's been my experience.
There was no expectation of monetary exchange. And I know you know that, but I think that implicit should be made explicit, right? Because when you give without that expectation, then it does come across. I think it does come across.
Yeah.
The other thing I remember as we're talking, I remember is saying to you at some point, I think on the very first call, that I really would like to, I so enjoyed this, and I really would like to keep in touch and develop the relationship. Yeah. I remember making that explicit. And I think that sometimes when we are, especially for people who long to build relationships with people, we don't always say that out loud. We expect for other people to know that by our actions. But then I always talk about the brain and the filters that we have, and also that other people, like you said, have been harmed, may have trouble trusting. Shoot, I have a bit of trouble trusting. What I'm learning is again, that invitation, and you have to take the risk. Now, it won't always work out. I can tell you there are people that I've had conversations with that we both know that I've extended that invitation to, that it hasn't worked out. And there's no, what's the word that I want to use? Not hard feelings, is for lack of a better way of saying it, right? There's no shade, there's no hard feelings. It's just that didn't work out. We still maintain an acquaintanceship rather than a friendship. But in order for me and you to develop that, it wasn't going to be just me picking the phone randomly and calling you. It was me expressly saying, no, Lord, I really want to build a friendship with you.
Yeah, and us following through with that with intentionality, because I think we've all been in situations where we talk to people, there's a connection, we enjoy the conversation, we think, oh, this could build into a friendship, and we say something like, yeah, we should do this again one day, or we should, and then you never talk to them again. And you just, and it's not that you're intentionally not talking to them, you get busy, they get busy. But with us, I feel like there's been this level of intentionality and that has built this, like the regularity and like the continuity and all the different ways like that we found to communicate. And I think Marco Polo, I think that was really just, I had never even heard of the app. You were on the app and you were telling me about it. But for us to be able to just check in asynchronously, effortlessly, when we doing all kinds of things, y'all, like, I mean, Dr. Maisha and I, I don't know if we're going to go there, but
after you travel across the country together, meeting for the first time, and that sort of breaks down some barriers, and it transitions me because we began to build that trust. And I think that we all know that there are levels of trust. I trust you to show up. I trust for you to watch my kid. I trust you with my life. I trust you to bear my deepest and darkest secrets. And I dare to say that one is the most difficult.
Yeah.
And so that's where safety comes in. And I think there's something to be said for the level of safety we had to have built in order to travel to a country where you didn't speak the language and I did.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
Meeting each other for the very first time, staying in an Airbnb together the whole time.
Sharing space, like not in separate hotel rooms, staying in a residence together. We had our own bedrooms, but yeah.
I think that there's to start to deconstruct that, what that looked like. I'd love to hear what it looked like for you, if you can start to rewind that for yourself. Like, how did you know that I was a safe person?
Wow. Let me just say, I'm in my midlife, y'all. So what that means is my memory is not always as pristine as Dr. Maisha. She's a few years behind me. But what I remember is, I think it was just the way that you shared your heart. Like, I think, like I said, it started out really more businessy, but even then there were just elements of each of us sharing. And then I'll also add that, I guess this was a couple years later. I'm trying to time with the divorce, because where I'm going with this is I went through some things. I'm still going through some things, but there was an instance where we moved from just talking about business and work to like sharing about our lives and our kids and our families and some of our personal challenges and hurts. And I think it's the way that you showed up, the way that you have held, the way back then and the way you continue to hold space for me. Also, Dr. Maisha knows this. She is an amazing mom. And even though my kids are grown, I think like through just casual conversations or hearing Delson in the background and things like that, like I have been able to witness you as a mom. And I think that how people show up as parents says a lot about how they show up in the world. And so if I'm really thinking about it, like those interactions and just seeing your heart in that space as a mom was also a big thing for me. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And Dr. Maisha always has me wanting to do-overs. Man, I wish I had said that to my kids when they were younger. It's intangible. This is why I'm having trouble answering the question. It really is intangible. But if I were to try to put it into words, it's really just like who you are, how you show up in the world, and how you showed up for me, that there was never any concern. Like by the time we decided we were going to travel, I didn't have any concerns about like my physical safety or my emotional safety. Yeah, it was just, I remember thinking like, am I really doing this? But at the same time, there was no hesitation. And speaking of your nieces, my kids think they're my mom. And so they're protective. And they were, you doing what? Make sure you share this. Make sure you tell us where you are and keep your location on. And because they were at that point, I don't think they had the relationship with you that they have now. And so they were like, you're going to the Dominican Republic with a woman you've never met.
I can see how that might show up. I never thought of it like that, but I can see how that might show up. Wait.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's all good.
Yes. I think I got to develop that relationship while we were in the Dominican Republic, when you were like FaceTiming and hey, nieces, and they were like, oh, I think she's okay. She already exactly as family.
Yes.
I appreciate you sharing that, because what it speaks to me and what the audience may be picking up is it's the experience of the person, right? Like it was your experience of me, which is why it's intangible, because it was the actual. And I was sharing with Dr. Nicole that I was recording a podcast before this podcast, and I talked about how our body will process before our brain knows what it is. And so that's why the experience of a person is so important. And you experience in different ways by watching me over time, how I showed up with you, how I showed up with my son, just all of these various ways. When I think about it, it was the way you let me be me. What I'm alluding to for the listeners is that for each person, how you know someone is safe will be different. So for me, it was like this space of however I am works. And when we got ready, I remember we got ready to travel, we were talking about it. I was like, yeah, let's have a conversation about how we travel.
I definitely remember. I do remember this.
Yes. And so it was like, let me talk to you about my quirks, because I understand that for some people in the world, I am not the easiest person to be around, because I'm a tested introvert. I like my space. I can get quiet suddenly. Like I'm an undiagnosed, I think I'm an undiagnosed neurodivergent person, right? Mm-hmm. And the way you accepted that with grace, like the way you interacted with me with such grace and held the space for me to just say, look, this is how I roll. So, you still want to go with me?
And that was definitely the energy. You were, okay, let me just tell you how I am. Okay, it's still good? It's still
good. You still want to go? Because I understand if you want, I'm giving you the out. I'm giving you the exit ramp. And that's what I do. That is a characteristic that I have with people, is I give people exit ramps all the time, because like, I am who I am. And I know that I love hard and I go deep, and I have quirks, right? I just know that about myself. And so I think the way you allowed me to just be me in my meanness, and you just understood and held space, that was for me the experience. I was like, okay. For me, the other signal is when we didn't talk, like if we were on a cadence and either I had to pull away or you had to pull away, there was no hard feelings. There was no animosity. There was no, why did you call me? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you tell me? There was none of that. There was just like, hey, you know what? I'm here. It's like that steadfastness, that rockness, that like anchoring. Take your time when you need to come back, or when you're ready, come on back. I'm here. I ain't going nowhere. I used to say, I'm not that easy to get rid of. Once you got me.
Yes.
But that's the Aries.
I feel like that's grown girl energy anyway, or grown woman, I should say, energy. This idea of not having to speak every single day. We do speak every single day, but not having to speak every single day. And like you said, just acknowledging the spaces that we've been in where we may have needed to pull away. And I just feel like that comes with a level of maturity. That's teenage stuff to me, where you're feeling like, why you ain't call me? Why do you? But also, even when we've stepped away, like you said, we've always made sure the other person knew I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Hey, I'm going to be busy. And then we open the invitation. You're going into a conference. Hey, girl, I know you're going to be at a conference. I'm not expecting to hear from you. And then you'll be like, oh, I'm still going to markle you. Same thing. You're like, hey, I know you're on your birthday trip with your sisters.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't hear from me. And I'm like, girl, you're going to hear from me. So, but we open that door and extend that invitation to the other person. Hey, if you need to take some time off, there's no expectation on my part. Yeah, I think we're just regularly just inviting each other, giving each other grace, giving each other space.
I think the other thing that, as you are talking, that comes up is the level of transparent communication. Because even there is okay, I know you're going to travel, take your time, you're going to Ghana, so don't be Marco on me, girl. And there is hey, I might be quiet for a couple of days because I might need to pull in for a couple of days. And we both done that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that when we're able to be so transparent and in communication, like just whatever that is, there's a book, I think it's called Attachment, and it talks about attachment styles, like whether you're an avoidant attachment styles under stress or whether you're in a anxious attachment styles during stress, or and then how you learn to be balanced. And I know for myself, when I'm under stress, I pull away. That's what I do. And I learned that's called an avoidant attachment style. And then I have another friend of mine who she is expressly in an anxious attachment style. So when I pull away, she gets anxious and it triggers her, activates her abandonment, right?
Yes.
And to be able to be aware and considerate enough to say, for me, I had to learn to say, hey, I'm going to go in my cave. And I've learned I've had to do that with several people in my life. Like my mom, she's an anxious attachment style. If I don't call her when something's going on for a while, she'll be like, you good? Like, you alive? But I'm like, am I still posting on social media? You will know. But like, I've learned, and she's now learned about me, that my quiet doesn't necessarily mean something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so for us, for the two of us, it's that level of being in communication, whether it's communicating every day, because I have people that, I got a girlfriend from college that lives 10 minutes away from me, and we don't talk but like once every month or so, and we don't see each other but every couple of months, but we're in communication about how we communicate.
Yes.
We understand. And I think that's what you and I have developed, that safety to say, I got to pull away, or that safety to say, can we do our check-in asynchronously instead of checking in live on the phone like we do once a week?
Yep.
We have developed the safety to we've given each other permission. I think this is another thing that we haven't quite touched on. Permission to hold each other accountable.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I expressly say, hey, this happened, is this me? I need you to, and I need to bounce this off. I need you to know, am I overreacting? I need you to call me in if this is me. So giving that permission for the call in, and you've done the same, again, deepens the level of safety, because safe to feel included. These are the 4 steps of psychological safety, y'all. Safe to feel included. Learner safety, right? That means safe to learn, safe to make mistakes. Challenger safety, that's like safe to contribute, safe to have your voice heard, safe to provide guidance, to provide coaching. And then challenger safety, that's the call in right there. That's the call in. Safe to say, no, I invite you to consider something different.
Yeah, that's been huge in our relationship. And also, there have been times, I know I have done this, there have been times when I have offered accountability in an area where you didn't necessarily want it. And we have given each other the safety to do that, to say, I'm good over here, sis. It's funny because I'm thinking about my daughters. You and I have a very different relationship than my daughters, but in some ways it's similar in that they are adults. And I have learned that I have a tendency to offer advice sometimes, and when they don't want advice, like unsolicited, basically. And so we have gotten into this groove where I think it's a beautiful space where I can ask ahead of time, are you venting? Like, are you just sharing this with me, or do you want advice? And but there have been a couple of times with you and I where I have offered some accountability around something where you didn't need it, want it, or whatever, safe relationship for you to be able to express that to me, for me not to be in my feelings about it at all. Oh, okay. Like, we have that safety of boundaries. And so, yeah, there's so much.
Yeah, I love that you named that, the safety to be able to set boundaries. And look, let's be clear. It's not that we don't feel feelings about it, right? It's not that I don't get nervous when I have to set a boundary.
Same.
Or you don't, like, we still have all the same feelings, but what makes this safe is that we can have those feelings and we can exercise that courage and we can practice with one another. And when we miss the mark, I know I've missed the mark on you, and you'd be like, actually, that's not exactly what it is. I'm like, oh, yes. Okay, I got you. And we feel those. I'm gonna speak for me. Whenever you've set a boundary, you've said I'm off course, I feel a little tingling. Ooh.
Same, Dr. Maisha.
But we know that we are there for one another. We know that being off course does not mean anything. It just means we're being off course. And so you got to feel the tinglies and understand and be like, oh, my bad. And then we just keep it moving. And like you said earlier, that's grown person energy. But we also have to remember, and I have to bring this up because I talk about it all the time, that some people, because of trauma, get stuck in earlier stages. That I always talk about Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. Look it up, Erikson, Erikson. I don't think there's a C in there. There may be a C.
Nope, I don't think there's a C.
Yeah, Erikson, stages of psychosocial development. I talk about it all the time. You probably have heard about it in one of my previous podcasts. You might have heard about it if you've heard me talk from the stage. But what I'm telling you is that trauma can stall a person in their development. So then that trust is built over time. We've known each other for about 5 years. We've known each other for longer, but we've been growing this relationship for about 5 years. So it's important to understand that this kind of trust and safety does take time for some people. And especially when you don't live in the same city and you don't work together every day, even though we Marco every day. But also for some people, it may take less time, and for some people, it may take more time. But it's these elements like that safety to mess up.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, here's what's interesting to me, Dr. Nicole, and I have to knock on wood. What was something real wood around here? I got chemical wood. Oh, okay. Is that Dr. Nicole and I have never had an altercation. We never had a friend fight. And that's not to say we won't disagree on things, but we never had like a disagreement where the emotions are heightened.
Yeah.
And who's to say, Dr. Nicole? I'm not trying to say that's going to happen. I'm not going to on wood again.
I'm not going to wood. I don't think so. We can't predict the future, but I don't know. I just feel like that's not going to happen. I think because of everything we've already shared. And I feel like there definitely have been, I feel like we really haven't had like big disagreements at all, but I feel like there have been a few things where we've had to communicate with one another, set a boundary. We'll just say that. But I think because of all the things that you've already shared, if and when that comes up again, we just work through it. Like, I really can't even imagine us having something that would lead to a fracture in the relationship, because we've just cultivated this level of trust and safety, and the way that we are safe in sharing what bothers us and sharing what we need. Like, we're really good at telling each other what we need. So I could be wrong, but I think
also we have done a really good job of assuming the best, like showing
Yeah,
each other our heart, so then we can then assume the best intent, assume that
for
positive
sure.
intent. And that positive intent, let's be honest, it's earned.
Yes.
We have earned it with each other.
Hmm.
When you're building safe relationships, now in the business world, you can assume positive intent when you're working with someone, and you said trust until trust is broken, but there's not the level of, initially there's like a different level of trust there. So like I said, there's these levels of trust. When you build this type of deep bench of safety, you learn to assume that positive. You know who that person is. And
Yeah.
so even if like, I'm gonna tell on you, we used to Marco and eat. And then one day
Girl,
Dr. Cole
I
was
was
like,
wondering if you were going to bring this up.
you know
Go
I
ahead. I
was.
wasn't going to bring it up. Go ahead.
Dr. Cole was like, she was like, listen, and it's in her sweet way, right? Like, she's just always so gracious. I have so much trouble when you eat and Marco. And I was like, say less. Like, that is literally like, and she left it on the Marco. And that's literally like the closest we've come to a disagreement. Can you imagine? I need you to stop.
And if I may, going back to what you said about that tingly,
Yeah.
Dr. Maisha, I don't even know if I've told you this. So y'all are hearing it first at the same time Dr. Maisha is hearing it. That had been, when I say brewing, not, but I had been wanting to say something because for whatever reason, it was starting to bother me more. And every time I would start to think about addressing it, I would just feel that feeling you're talking about. So to your audience, like you said, we still have those emotions. And then I would question myself, like, Nicole, why are you feeling weird about this? Is your girl. This is your biz bestie. And then finally, I just had to push through it. And she received it with so much grace. And both of us have caught ourselves a few times because we both agreed we're not going to eat and talk while we're on Marco. But thank you for receiving it so kindly.
Of course. That is the beauty of building these relationships. I know that it's me having to set boundaries around unsolicited advice. I was like, okay, oof, oof. Okay, how's this gonna come across? Right?
Yes.
All right. I want to just say to you, thank you for being that safe person for me. Thank you for being one of few. I can count on one hand the amount of people that I feel this kind of depth of safety with.
Same.
Like, I can be my whole self, come with my whole self, come as I am. And so I appreciate that. And for the audience listening, we hope that we're a demonstration of that in our language together, in our time together here, but also just to recap some of the themes. We talked about inviting people in. We talked about being willing to take the risk and give, to make the implicit explicit about what you want. Because you may say you want a relationship. I did one time say to a person, I wanted to build a friendship. And she told me she did not have the capacity for it. And I respected the heck out of that. It didn't feel great in the moment, but I respected that she didn't have the capacity, and she was able to tell me that with such love and grace, to be explicit with that. So you don't make up things in your head, and the other person can tell you whether that is something that is possible. To understand that feeling of safety is different for everyone. It comes with building trust. They're connected, they're siblings, right? But that it's different for everyone, and we often feel it in our bodies and we also feel when someone's not safe. Let's just be clear. We feel when someone's not safe in our bodies before we process it in our brain, right? And it comes from watching patterns of behavior and listening to patterns of communication. And so these are some of the things. And then that whole, like, being safe to set boundaries and how a person receives that boundaries, even if they receive it like clunkily at first, if they are to come back and say, okay, I know that maybe I didn't respond in my best self, that's an indicator that they're trying, they're getting better. Watch the actions. So there's just some of the themes that came up. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add to the themes. Of course, you captured them beautifully. That's what you do. But I also just want to thank you. I have to thank you for just introducing me to a new way of doing friendship. I have not had, to my knowledge, a virtual relationship turn into this deep of a friendship ever. Most of my close friends are people that I either went to high school with or college with, or they're in my sorority, but not somebody that was in a internet Facebook group. So I appreciate all the ways that you have grown me. I am a better person because of you in so many ways.
I feel the same way.
Here come the tears.
I feel exactly the same way. There's so many ways that I've leaned on you, borrowed from your faith. I've grown, even as a consultant, as a biz bestie. That's another thing. We developed our friendship. It's interesting because our friendship developed out of sort of our biz bestie-ship. So we call each other biz besties, which is interesting. I will say this. I'm gonna tell you a little secret, and I know we're wrapping it up, but I'm gonna tell you a little secret. For at some point, until you made it explicit, I was like, I'm only her biz bestie. She'd be like, this is my biz bestie. I'm like, I feel like we're more than biz besties.
For sure.
It was obvious, but until you made that explicit, I was like, I don't know.
And I think that was on Marco. That was on a Marco.
That was on Marco. Yes, you did say it.
It all goes down on the Marco.
It all goes down on the Marco Polo, y'all. Yes, I appreciate you coming on to have this conversation with me, and for us just for being a demonstration of what friendship really looks like, because our friendship is a model for now how I go about looking at other friendships. If it don't look like this,
we set the bar real high, Dr. Maisha.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else can.
For deep friendship, for safe friendship, for building trust. There are levels of friendship. I want to make sure before we go, we talked about the beginning, but we got to talk about the end. Where can people find you, listen to you, follow you, and be able to bask in the light of your navigation expertise in whatever?
Thank you. I think in this season of my life, to the place where I am showing up the most authentically right now is on my podcast, Your Next Chapter with Dr. Nicole. So I would encourage you all, wherever you're listening to this amazing podcast, find me there on all the podcast apps. It's audio only, not video. And the other place is LinkedIn, because I think if you want to know the other parts of what I'm doing in healthcare, that's the best place to see how I show up in healthcare spaces. So LinkedIn, you can just search Nicole Rochester, MD, and the Your Next Chapter podcast with Dr. Nicole.
Yes, go listen to the Your Next Chapter podcast with Dr. Nicole, because it is definitely, I've sent lots of people that way, and it is an amazing podcast.
Thank you, sis.
Yes. So for those of you who are wanting to build safe spaces, safe relationships, whether it's in your personal life or in your business life, take a listen to this podcast. Again, send it to a friend, send it to a family, send it to a colleague, someone in your community, because we want to build capacity for building deep relationships, especially now where it's so needed. How you build safety and trust inside of relationships. There's a lot that was here. So share this episode, ripple it out, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because these are the kind of conversations we have on this podcast, you all. All right. So with that, I leave you to go practice building deep trust and building safe relationships. And until the next time I see you, stay empowered.